Okay, hello everybody. This is Daniel speaking from SolidCAM International Support Team, and welcome to the webinar. I'm very excited and very honored to present you one of the, I would say, the most revolutionary tool for editing and debugging of post-processor since the SolidCAM post-processor exists. There will be a tons of informations, okay? There will be a lot of explanations how this tool works, and therefore for you, we actually will record this webinar, so it will be also available afterwards, okay? I will try also to give you in this webinar, I would say the most like frequently asked question, what is the debugger and why we need it anyway, and what is the Visual Studio Code, how to install it, and how we can actually use it on our daily basis. Okay, so let's get started. I'll just firstly jump to let me just go to the PDF over here. And we have prepared for you this reference guide, which will basically go all the way through what we will talk today. Yeah, well, I would say most of the things. And it will be available just after the webinar, so we will share it to everybody so you can follow it. And if there is something unknown or you have any questions, you can also ask it afterwards. But why I want to show you over here, it's a very important thing that I will always go back to, that is how to install it. Okay, since I will not explain actually how the process of installation will go on this webinar, I will be focused more on the facts how actually you can use it. But I would like to say a few things regarding to this amazing tool. As you saw it on the beginning and also on the title of this webinar, is that the whole debugger thing is located in the Visual Studio Code. So we are using the Visual Studio Code. Maybe some of you already heard about this tool before, maybe not, but I will try to explain what it is. So the base of the SolidCAM debugger, it's located actually in Visual Studio Code, which is the completely 100% free code editor, okay? And yes, this means that all your post-processor from now on, you can actually edit in this free code editor. But why we choose Visual Studio Code? There are many reasons. First of all, it is the #1 developer tool worldwide, okay? I think it's like 50% of the developers are using this editor, okay? By my opinion, what it's also pretty great about it is that it has a lot of extensions, so you can download it and install it according to your needs. Okay, and it has the version control. This is the topic that I will not mention and not talk in this webinar. But the most important thing why we actually decide to use the Microsoft Visual Studio Code is because it has integrated debugging tool. I will go further regarding to the debugging later, okay? Now, what is also very important that together with this editor, in order to work properly, you need to download 3 extensions. And those 3 extensions will be basically the debugger itself, the GPP Editor Toolkit, and GPP language. So I will basically explain you one by one each one of these and how we can actually use it. But before I just jump there, what is very important in this document is that you have over here the links towards the Microsoft Visual Studio Code, okay? And you also have the link towards the SolidCAM latest extensions. So basically this link will never be different. You can always find there the most updated extension. And also if this link for some reason doesn't work, is just a moment, please. Okay, is for some, I got the information that nobody actually can see my document, so just a moment. All right. How about now? It should be visible pretty much. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. So let me just repeat some of the things. I just showed this PDF, okay? And the most important thing about this PDF is the Visual Studio Code free code editor, okay? And these three extensions, Debugger Editor Toolkit and the language. And what I wanted to say also more about it in order to how to install it, it will be located in this document. And for sure, here you can see the link. The link will never be changed. And if for some reason it doesn't work, you can feel free to contact SolidCAM support. All right. Okay, so let me go back out from this. Okay, so here we are. This is the Visual Studio Code, okay? In the background, I do have SolidWorks and SolidCAM, and I will use the Milturn post-processor. In this example, it is completely not important which post-processor is. Also, the part itself is not complicated part. I just use something to show up how this actually tool works. Okay, so once you install the Visual Studio Code and you run it, you will see something like you can see on your screen. And I will go a little bit into details so you can be also familiar with the things that I'm showing you here, okay? So let's start from the top. We have here the pretty much standard drop-down menus like a file, edit, selection, view, go, debug, terminal, and help. And as you can see here, it is not complicated at all. The idea behind the Visual Studio Code is that to make very simple code editor, and later on, according to your needs, they give you the API of the code, and you can make your extensions. Okay. Besides of that, as I said already earlier, you also have the debugging tool itself. Okay. So this is it. So pretty much standard, nothing so special, right? Okay, and on the left side, what we have is our Explorer. I think it's very important. We have the search bar, nothing so special, search and replace. We have the icon of the source control. As I said earlier, it will not be explained too deep in this webinar. Then we have the debug. As you can see, it looks like this. I will go into very details how you can use this. And we also have the extensions, okay? Now, if you go to the extension list, you will be able to see that there is no extension found, okay? I will not go into the details how to install it. I already have installed, okay? And on the bottom, I have here, they are all disabled, okay? So this is something that I really like in this feature. You can enable and disable any of your extension. So I'll just enable the debugger, toolkit, and the language itself. For something like this, you'll always need to, in order to take effect, you need to reopen the Visual Studio Code. So I'll just exit over here, and I'll go back to Visual Studio Code again. Now, once you install everything properly according to the document that I gave you, and once you go to the extension here, you will be able to see the debugger, editor, toolkit, and the language, okay? Now, one thing I forgot to show you here, and I'll just disable those two. And also I will disable the debugger, and it will require to reload it. I'll just reload it again. All right. Very first time, I think what is very different from your editors that you're using is that you can open actually the working folder. Many editors have this, okay? And here it's very crucial, especially for the debugger, and I'll explain that also later. I will open the folder or my working folder. In this case, it's nothing so special. It's just, some post that includes also the machine simulation file, and here we have the GPP. So I'll use this folder over here. So I'll just minimize it. And I'll go to the file, and you can go here, open folder as well. And I will just open the recent one that I used, and I'll just click it over here. What you can see here, what happens that he can actually see what is inside this folder, and you can actually manage and edit all your files in this Explorer, okay? I'll click on the GPP here. All right, I clicked and the GPP file opened. Now what you can note here is that all our GPP doesn't have any syntax highlighting. Now this is very sad because, as you all know, we all like very nice colors. You know, our code, it should be very nice. And this was one of the first steps when this tool was developed. Okay, and now what I'm going to do, I'll go back again to the extension list here, and I'll again enable our extensions here. Okay, I'll close it just to make sure that everything takes effect perfectly. All right, but you can see that the one of the main points here that are different, that all our code, it's now correctly highlighted. I would say this is kind of at the moment this is a standard, but I will explain you also later in this webinar how you can actually modify all syntax highlighting. Okay, so today in this webinar regarding to the extension list, I will basically start with the GPP Editor Toolkit. So what is the GPP Editor Toolkit? It is very important, not just, it is not only important that we have a powerful debugging tool, but we also thought that the developers of the post-processor must, besides of, big advantages of the debugger, they must have all necessary tools in order to write the code faster, okay? So this is one of the extensions that we built in, and thanks very much for developers who developed all those extensions. And I will show you all things for each one of those. So let's get started. On the left side here, once you install this editor toolkit, you will be able to see these GPP tools. It's nothing different from what you have in your editors, but there is slight advantages over yours. It is, we call it here GPP procedures. In some other softwares, it's like a function list or so. Okay. All right. What you can see here is just that they are ordered. We can see all procedure list. And what is very different from yours that you have, of course, you have all standard features like jumping, smart jumping to any of the procedure. Okay, this is pretty much standard. But what you can see here, next to some of the procedures, you have this button to expand a view, and you can see here there is a call line. Now, what is this information? This information is where this particular procedure is called inside the post-processor. And I can see in the line 291 and 295, we have this procedure is called. As you can see, jumping, I can jump to each one of those. This information is very valuable because I can see how many times I'm calling this procedure in my post-processor. And I can easily just jump in and navigate through the code. Very handy, right? So I like this feature. I didn't have that in Notepad++. All right, the next thing that you can see here is that you can group particular procedure into specific group, and you can name it. And in this purpose, I can go to the file and program, and as you can see, you can do it. Just you must be very exact, and you must type, the region itself, like I did it over here, and then you just put the name of it. Okay, whatever name you type over here, it will be also located here on the GPP procedure list. And in order to know where it is stopped, I will scroll down over here, and over here we can see the end region. So basically everything between all procedures will be in this group folder. So I can also do that. So I can maybe search for some particular stuff. And also I can see here, I didn't finish this document yet. So it has the compensation information. So I can basically just go over here and just type type region. I have the name itself. I can now scroll down. Region, it's done. And let's say the compensation will be over here. Okay. And I would say, the hashtag and region, and nothing you need to type. I just put, and what you can see here now, the compensation group, it's defined. Pretty handy. I really like it. Okay, so this is everything about the function list. Okay, another feature that we have it over here, it's you can do a right click anywhere in the code area, and you can find this very important, I would say 6 tools. It also have the go definition all the way to the change all occurrences. Okay, so let's start with the go to definition. I really like this feature. So what you can do basically with it, how many times it happens to you that you are somewhere over here, and as you can see, I'm calling some particular procedure. I'm not sure where it is over here because the list, it's very, very big. Of course, I can search and type it, and probably I will find it. But what is very handy is that you just do a right click and just go to definition or jump with F12. You also have a shortcut to it, and he will directly jump to the original procedure where it is actually declared. Okay, I really like this option, but we go even further than this. So for instance, let me try to find some variable here. Okay, so let's see. It doesn't work only with the procedures. It also works with the variables. So for instance, here we have the machine brand. And as you can see, I can do a right click and I can go to the definition. I can click and he will jump to the line where actually it is defined. And let me see, machine brand, it's over here. Really nice option. Really, I really like it. It's such awesome. Yeah. Some of the thing that it's not connected to the extension itself. What I'm using it on daily basis is to split screen. Okay, so split screen option, it's available over here on the top right corner, and you can basically split your GPP into 2 files. Basically, whatever you type on the right side, it will write on the left side. So this is completely same file, okay? But what it allows you to do, it allows you to not leave the, let's say, start a file, and you can focus yourself in another basically file, part of the code, and you can be focused over here. And once you decide, you can go back to the start of file and you continue your code process. But what I also like in Visual Studio Code, that you can also do it multiple times. It's not only 2 times. You can do it 3 times, 4 times, many times. Not only that, but you can also split it left, right, but you can also go down. You can go, you can go left, right. It's not important. So there is almost no limits in this. And if you have pretty big screen, this can be very handy if you can see a part of your code, in different window. Let me try to close this now. I really like this feature. All right, the next feature that I like to show, it will not be convert output block and line, but I will go to the format document. This is my favorite, okay? Not that long time ago, we made a convention about post-processor writing, okay? And there we mentioned how the code should be written regarding to the tabs and indentations and the stuff. And what I want to show you here, that today in 1 click you can format whole your GPP in 1 click. So what it's all about? I will be focused in this example only on the start of file, but you basically can open any of your post-processor and convert format your document accordingly. So what I'm saying here, for example, here you can see the indentation, everything is correct and perfect. Okay, so I will make in this example it a little bit unperfect. What I mean, I will just remove here the space. I will just make here the spaces. I will make 1 space here, 2 spaces there. I will make many tabs here. So my my code is nasty now, right? So it's a mess here now. So nobody likes to debug this kind of code, right? So what you can do, you can just select a piece of the code that you want to format, or you can just click anywhere you want and hold Control and A, and whole document will be selected. And what you can do here, you can do a right click and you can format the document, okay? And as you can see in one moment, everything is formatted very well. I really like this feature to show. All right, next feature, it's convert to output block and output line. How many times it happened to you that you have, let me see, I think I have something in my editor. Perfect. How many times it happened to you that you have piece of the code that customer said, okay, if I want to use the part release on military machine, I want always this piece of the code. In this example, this is the part transfer code, okay? But I will use it in this example. So I'll just copy this piece of the code. I'll go to the Visual Studio Code, and I will try to go to the end of the document. I'm now on the end of the document, and I'll just try to type like test, not tool, but test, and I will close the procedure, and I'll just paste the piece of the code, okay? Now, when you select this piece of the code and do a right click, you can either put everything inside to output a new block or to output a new line. So let's see what it's all about. So I'll start with a new block. And as you can see, he will put it, it's a macro file, basically macro command that it will open and close bracket, and he will output everything as a string. All right. So this is very, very nice. And as you can see, everything is new block. But you can also do the same thing if you do a right click and convert to output a new line. Everything will be the same except that the new line will be written over here. This is very, 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 very nice. Okay, and I think the last thing that I would like to show is something like change all occurrences. It's something like search for particular text, and you can change all of those. So for instance, I can select this message variable and I can do a right click and change all. As you can see, he will select this message variable in whole document. So now you can type the message of like, as message, and then, I don't know, SolidCAM message or something, yes? So you can do also in this way. I will just move it back how it was. It's pretty nice. I'll also later on show you more of those stuff, okay? Depends on our time, but I think it will be pretty good. All right, now something about, let me go to the extension list, and I'll talk a little bit about the GPP language. As you can see, everything is already done. I will not waste too much time, but I will go to this release version of the extensions. And what you can see here is these three, what you will be able to find in that link is those three extensions, but also what you will be able to find is this settings JSON file. Okay, this JSON file is the settings of how the text will be highlighted. And you can also customize it if you want by going to the file, preferences, then you go to the settings, and then just remember, go to the workbench and appearances. It's pretty complicated to get it over here, but it's not that bad once you get done it once. And then you have here, edit the settings JSON, okay? And once you click over here, you will be able to see that each keyword is kind of declared into a scopes, and basically you can just move your mouse over the color itself, and you can basically change the color. So I will just click. Can I? Why? it just show up, and now it doesn't want to show up. Okay, basically you can change the colors of everything. If you, here it is, now it works. So you just okay, so the way how it is, you just move the cursor towards this code, and then you can pick up any color that you want. Basically, you don't have to do anything if you use the settings that is a default, but you can also customize yours if you wish. Okay. All right. What else? I think this is pretty much at this moment. I will go back to more details, but now I'm coming to the part of the GPP debugger. Okay, so what is a debugger? This was my first question. Okay, why I need the debugger in SolidCAM? I'm pretty experienced. I can write anything. I can get to the result sooner or later. Yes, but actually, the debugger, it's like a matrix movie. Okay, you can stop basically the time of your G-code generation and navigate and analyze the data in any moment. Okay, so what that means, once I hit the G-code generation button, I can in any time stop the G-code generation and I can analyze or change the data inside of it. Okay, now maybe this sounds a little bit creepy, especially if you're here for the debugging for the first time, but the debug mode is something like very common for all programmers and developers. Okay, so where it is located, I will just jump over here on the left side, and there is a debug over here, and this is how it looks like. Okay, for the very first time when you are running it, you can see the debug here have like a start debugging, but there is no configurations. Now you need to, the basic thing that you really need to know is that there is different kinds of debugging, okay? And each can be in different modes and can have different configurations. SolidCAM works in very specific debug mode, and all those settings are actually stored in something that we also call it, it's a JSON file, okay? And all other debuggers work in the same way. And basically what you have to do is to select the folder. Since we already selected the folder, but don't forget it to select the folder that where you want to store this extension. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'll just show you the post-processor folder, or the folder where we say that it will be our working folder. And as you can see, nothing is inside. But once you go to this gear, you can see that configure and fix launch JSON file. You don't need to know what is inside, but the most important is that you must define it before you actually run the debugger. Okay, I'm really not expert in why you what it is inside. You don't really need to know, but the most important is that it is a settings for the debugger. Okay, as you can see, the launch JSON is defined, and I will just go into this folder. And what you can see now that we have the VS Code over here. And if I go inside that folder, you can see that launch JSON is there, okay, with basically this settings and configuration. Basically not too many codes about it, so you can basically close it, okay. And what you can see now, the main difference is that the debug attach is now here, and it's not like no configuration. So now we have something there. Okay. So let me start it, okay? But before you actually start it, make sure that your SolidCAM it's open, okay? The SolidCAM version must be of 2019 SP2 hotfix 3 and beyond, okay? You cannot use the debugger in versions below this version, okay? As you saw it before, I have already opened it, okay? I'm using the latest release of SP2 hotfix 4, and this time I'll just hit debug attach over here, this rectangle over here. But before I do that, what you need to see here is that at the very bottom, my status bar, it's blue, okay? There's nothing here. Once I click debug attach, you will see the color will be changed. And the default color is orange usually, okay? And if it's something different, then probably didn't do something correctly, okay? In most of the cases, it will be completely fine, okay? So I'll just hit debug. And if everything is correct, it will change the color, debug attach here. You can see also the version, everything is very nice. I will close over here. And the two things you can actually see it here. The first is this debug, I call it toolbar. It's the most important bar in debugging. I will explain you each one of those what it is. We have basically pause. We have also step over, step into, step out. We have restart of the debugger and disconnect from the debugger. All right. Besides of the toolbar, we also have the debug console. On your PCs, probably the debug console will be at the bottom, and you can go to the debug over here. And I think it's, let me see, maybe, you can do a right click and it can be move panel to the bottom. And this will be by default on your PCs. And because of the G code generation and the way how the G code usually looks like, I really more like it when it's on the right side. Okay, I'll explain you also what the debug console actually is. All right, so let's start the Matrix movie. Okay, so I will go to the SolidCAM and I'll not do anything so special. I will just go to the G code and hit the generate button. As you can see, the G code generation start. As this, you can see this main window, but nothing actually happens, okay? Everything actually stopped and freezed at the moment. As you can see on the very bottom, the Visual Studio Code are giving us a signal that something you need to do some actions over here. I'll just jump over here, and what you can see here is that we have here this yellow navigator or pointer that show us where we are at the moment. On the top, you can see that we have some active, how should I say, active tools. And now maybe it's a good time that I can show you something on the left side. We have over here 4 different windows. We have the variables, we have watch, we have call stack, and we have a breakpoints. At this moment, it's not important what it is. I will explain you also that in a few moments from now. So for you, the most important is to focus on the tool itself. And on the right side, you have the debug console, okay? You will see what the debug actually console is. So I'm over here and I will not start from the continue, but I will start from this step into. Usually once you get used to it, you will use the shortcuts like F10, F11, F5, and so on. But in this webinar, I will just use, the mouse button. It's much better so you can actually see what I'm actually doing. So I will just click once on step into. What you can see that we moved one line and we are now over here. It means this line is still not executed. We are over here, and once you click this button to step into, it will be executed. So I can click on post dev, and what you can see here, I can move my mouse, the post dev, and now I can see immediately the value. This value now, this variable now gets the value, and the value it's actually displayed over here, and you can actually see it. I can just jump more, and I can see actually how SolidCAM works in the background, and I can debug my code. What is very important here to mention now, maybe not it is a perfect moment, is the variables here on the left side. It is divided into 3 groups. Local user, we have the global user, and we have the global system. Let's start with the global system one. Now, they are not final number as we are still in initialization procedure, but over here you can see all SolidCAM variables active in this project. As you can see, there's many of these. I will not go through all of those, and you can see actually the value of everything here. For example, what I'm very interesting, I will go down maybe later. But we also have the global user, and as you can see, this is all the variables in this list that are actually over here. So I can easily go to the begin, and we also can see the values also in this list. So I don't have to really go to some variable. As you can see, this open chuck is declared, but if I move the mouse over here and there's nothing pop up, it means that it doesn't have the value at all, okay? And probably because of that, it's not also listed in the global user. We also have the local user, which is the local variables that is used in particular procedure, okay? And as you can see here, there is none because we didn't declare at all anything here. Okay, let's go further. And this is actually how it works. Now, what about the debug console and why this is so boring? Yeah. So let's see what is happening now. We are jumping to the very special procedure to get a trace. Okay, and what will happen for the very first time when you are debugging, the debugger will bring you back to the SolidCAM and he will ask for the trace. So still, as you see, we are only in the now in the trace mode, and we need to say what kind of output we would like to get. I will just do 0 over here, and as you can see, that the debugger again asks us to come back to the Visual Studio Code and continue with our debugging. This is pretty nice. What you can see also over here, we have all global user ones. We have also 2077 system ones. And it's pretty nice. I don't need to go. I think the biggest advantage of this one is that I don't really need to go inside the trace. In most of the cases, I will not need to go there because I can grab any information from the debugger. So for instance, I'm looking for the user account. And as you can see, if I move my mouse over the user account, I can see it's my name over here. And that's why actually everything goes over here. I can also go to the coolant. I can go also to any, for example, the file name. Why not? Not here, but I can just be here and just start to type. We have also probably more, like a G-code file name. I think this will be even more better. G-code file name, I think more. Is there any more? I think there is. Maybe I didn't type it correctly, but I hope you got my point. Basically, every value over here, you actually have it. Okay. Now, this is still not interesting at all because this is a very slow process. As you can see, we are still in the very first procedure, and it is pretty boring, right? We are just jumping to something, yeah. But let me just show you something here. What is the next button over here? The step into means he will jump to every single procedure that is on the way. So if we have a call format definition, he will just jump inside of it and he will continue with everything, yes? Now, if I'm bored with this one, I can just skip it with this one. So I want to say step out, which means it doesn't mean that he will skip all these things over here, but he will go all the way and exit from the procedure. So I can click it. And as you can see, we exit from the format definition and we are going to the process definition in next step. I can go there. And again, he will go to the process definition. And then later on, we'll go to the channel ID procedure over here. If I don't want to jump into every single one of these because I know what is happening inside, I can use the next button, which is called step over, which means he will not basically skip it, but he will go inside and quickly go back, but you will not even see it. So I'll just click, and as you can see, he's ignoring calling and going inside particular procedure. If I want to still go out, if I'm pretty sure that my code over here is correct, I can just again go back out from this user-defined procedure, which is called the process definition, which I just then in that case click step out. And this is how actually works with this panel over here. Okay, now this panel you will use every single time when you turn on the debugger, but in order to navigate through your code and get what you actually need, or we can say if you want to debug your post processor, you will mostly use this windows over here. Okay, so how we can actually use it? If I now click play button on the right side, I'll just now stop in some moment. I'll continue and just again stop. Did it stop, or we just generate everything? Let me just restart it. I just wanted to show you something. Yes. Okay. The G-code is generated. The very end process of the debugging is that you will receive the G-code in the way of the trace that you defined inside the trace statement. I will now clear the console, and I want to show you again some of the very nice features. So I will go to the start of file, okay? Again, I will just generate the G-code. But I didn't say where I want to stop it, okay? Let me, okay. Let's generate the whole G-code, okay? Just a moment. I'll just disconnect the debugger. The G-code will continue, as you can see, like there is no debugger there, and I will just restart everything. Okay, so let's start again. I want to show you one more time what I want. What is the debug console here? Okay, debugger is attached. I will just go to the operation, G-code generate, and okay, I will hit the play button. A moment. Again, I didn't put any breakpoint, so he will continue, but let me try to, oh, sorry. I think now it's very important that to show you something about the breakpoints. The breakpoints are the key regarding to where you actually want to stop the G-code generation, okay? So as you can see on the beginning, what I did here, I just go into step into and I go in a single mode. I call this also single mode. But what I'm interesting to see is that I want to stop at particular line of the block, okay? In order to do that, there are many ways to do it. The first way, you just do real right click and you can say add inline breakpoint. The best way that I used here is that you move your mouse in the block that you can see over here, and on the left side you can see this red dot, which means that this is a breakpoint, or let's say pause point, and I can click it over here. So what is happening inside the break window, you can see that break, it's used over here in the line 104, which is actually used over here. Okay, so basically once I hit play, my debugger will stop over here, okay? So let's go there, I'll click OK. And again, I'm going over here, and what you can see here is that my debugger stopped in the format definition, okay? Nice, this is pretty good. Why I wanted to go over here, let's try to print some messages, and let's go to the very first start of program, or let me try to find something. Everybody, one of you, whoever use the post processor, you know what is the start of job, probably, right? So let me try to bring another breakpoint in every start of job. So I will go back. Sorry, I will go back over here and just hit the play button. So I will go to the next break. On the right side, what you can see is the Debug Console. And over here, we can see all printed G-code so far, with also open-close structure over here. This is not the G-code that is ready for the machine. This is just a debug console. So it shows you what is the last thing that actually you printed out. So I can now go into step into, and I can move step out, and let's go step over. Let's go to some over here. We have the wait mark. And let's go to the next start of job. I'll play it, and we are inside the start of job. Here we are. I will just go step into. We have another startup job over here. And this is the real startup job that we'll print it out. So as you can see, in this webinar, I will be mostly focused in user-defined startup job. As you can see, this is a lot of lines of the code. I'm not really familiar with this postprocessor. So I don't have to be, because the debugger will allow me, to debug the code. So what I'm going to do right now, I will analyze what is actually what will actually come out from this procedure. So I'll just go step into, and what we are expecting here, it's a new line, and then N and tool position in turret. Okay, so let's go step into. What you can see here, that N23 it's printed out. As you can see, here is the N, and 23 it's coming from the tool position in turret. Now, what I like about this, how I know that my tool position in turret is actually 23. And now this is a very perfect moment to show you actually how to actually use the watch window over here. Of course, on the top, you can find this tool position in turret, and you will find this value, that's for sure. But what you can do is to double click here, and you can copy this variable, and you can add expression. Okay, I will add expression, and I'll just paste this value of the, or sorry, not the value, but the name of the variable, and I'll click enter. What you can see here, it gives us the value of the 23. So I can see in this particular line of the code that the value is 23. Perfect. Now, if I want to see what is the spindle, as you can see going over it, it's number 1. But I can copy this and I can put the expression. I can also put anything that I want. I can put the job name in any time, and I can see what it is even before it is printed. So let's move on. So it means the spindle 1 is active, which means this is a turning. I hope this is a turning face back spindle. This is a turning operation. So the spindle it's 1. So it will jump to 441 basically over here, right? So let's see. Else 441, and as you can see, 441 it's printed. Then we have the begin, it's open bracket, common end, it's closed bracket, and we have the job time face back spindle. So as you can see, even before it is printed, I can stop it in any time, and I can see what it actually will be. And here we go. This is very, very, very powerful. I really like it, especially because you can put it in the watch. You can put any, basically you can also remove any expression as well, okay? And this is very useful. What I really like also is let's say that I don't want to analyze all my code over here. This is pretty much a lot, but I would like, for instance, to stop, let's say, before calling user-defined empty feed spin. Okay, so I don't have to use this and go into step into. That will be a lot of clicks. Okay, but what you can do instead, you can just do a right click and just like run to the cursor. So I'll just run to the cursor. As you can see, everything gets printed out, and the debugger basically stopped exactly before it went inside this procedure. This is pretty nice. I really, really like it. And now I can just jump into this procedure. And here we go. We are again inside this empty feed spin. And I would say this is a procedure that in the military machines, we are getting all the information about the speed units, feed units, spin direction, and a lot of stuffs are inside, okay? But what is very nice that I can just go into, okay, pretty nice. And I can again now put the G code, for example. G code it's -1. I can copy the spin unit, for example, and as I can see, the speed unit is 0. Okay, so let's go. Now, what I would like to show you here is that once it goes over the G code, over here you can see that it will kind of highlight the value once it's changed. Okay, so pay attention over here. I'll just go one to another, and you see here Now the value changed. So this is pretty nice. So you can analyze what is happening. So here we have the spin unit. So like you can see, it's now 96. So after we go over it, it will go to the 96, and so on and so on. And of course, if I click the continue button, he will continue running the G code until the next breakpoint. Okay, so I can say now, okay, I want to stop it over here. Okay, I will play. Okay, I didn't do it before actually, because now we are in process of the debugging, so it will work in the next one. Okay, and every start of job, we have a lot of operations over here. So once I'm clicking continue, you can see that every time we are going over the start of job, but pay attention over here. The job name is changed every single time. Okay, we can just hit, and you can see how the G code changing and all the variables that are inside it's changing. Okay. What is very good here to show also, I will go back to the variables again. As you can see, we have the local user variables. Okay, pretty nice because you can see that we have two of those declared as the arguments, and that they are over here. And you can also analyze their values. Okay, pretty nice and handy. Okay, what to say else? Breakpoints. Something more about the breakpoints. Okay, first of all, what I'm going to do, I will just let's say I want to disconnect, and G code will continue to run. It asks me to reload everything, and I want to show you something different now. I will connect my debugger again, but this time I will remove all the breakpoints. Okay, I don't need them at the moment. Okay, so for instance, I would like to put conditional breakpoint. When the conditional breakpoint is used, let's say for instance, I would like to stop my G code generation where my operation is called like phase, like this one. So I want to run the G code generation and stop in the starter job of this variable. This value. So what I'm going to do here I have the job name, as you can see over here, and I will put the conditional breakpoint. Where to put it, I will just put it in start of job, okay, because this is the procedure where it changed it, and I can just go to definition. It doesn't work in this way. Okay, here we are in start of job. Perfect. So what I'm going to do, I will just make a breakpoint over here. As you can see, pretty standard. I'm not doing anything special. It is listed over here. But what you can do this time, you can do a right click and you can edit a breakpoint. Now, when you do hit and edit a breakpoint, this expression will pop up. And now you can say job name. You can put the condition when you want to stop it. And I say job name equal, and then you put, the value of it. What is very important for you to know, there is a limitation of double quotes and one. I think it works only with one. And also, this is the limit of the Visual Studio Code. You cannot put the arrays. Okay, so hit the enter button, and once you hit the enter button, you can see the breakpoint. It kind of changed the icon over here, right? I will go back to the SolidCAM. I will generate operations, all operations. Let's hope that it will stop over there. I'll just play. I'll just call the trace. Now he goes over it. There is still this is still not fixed by the Visual Studio Code. This is still under investigation. Let me go again back to the starter job. Sorry for this. Let me try to find a different different example. Let's say that every time when rotary axis type it's equal to 0 or something. Yes, so I will disable this one. I can go over here, edit the breakpoint, and let's say like this. Whenever it's X is for none, he will stop over here. Let's see if this works now. I will go back, operations, G-code generate, click OK. Interesting, whenever you want to show something, sometimes it doesn't work, yeah. Let me see, equal job name, let's see. Yeah, I think everything is correct. I think everything is correct. I will remove the breakpoint. I'll try, give me one more time. I will just go to the tool position in turret and insert this edit breakpoint, and I'll say if it's equal 23, as we already have this 23. And I'll try to restart over here. Just maybe it's also that. So I restarted. I have here the breakpoint, conditional breakpoint. I can go over here, generate the G code, generate. Okay, run. Yeah, so now we are on phase back spindle. Let's go over here, and my tool position in turret is 23, and as you can see, it's stopped over here just because the tool position is in the value, it's 23. Okay, it works. So I'll just hit the continue button, and he will stop every single time when this tool is 23. And then he'll continue with the G code. Again, hit stopping. You know, you can see here the operation here, it's changed all the time whenever it's changed. And once the G code is generated, and it's done. Okay, let me show you another very nice trick that is very, very good. I really like it. I think this is one of the most important regarding to the G code debugging. How many times it happened to you that you are looking to some of the code and you are not sure from where this is coming? Okay, so for instance, I'll give you one example. Here we have the catch part and sync on, and this, I know that this is the MCO operation, okay? And this is a part transfer procedure. And over here, let me see, I will try with this value over here. As you can see, this value, it's B minus 650. And I don't know from which procedure this is coming. I don't know from which variable this is coming, but I would like my debugger to find and to stop the generation or to break it once he hit this line. Okay, so let me copy this value. I'll just copy this text. I will minimize this. I will go to the Visual Studio Code. I will remove this breakpoint. I will go to the breakpoints over here, and I'll click on the Add Function breakpoint. And the function breakpoint, you need to open the curly brackets, then open the quotation mark, double one. Then you put the star, and then you put the text that you want to search for. Again, the star will multiply symbol, close the string, and also close the angle curved brackets. Okay. Now let me explain you what this is. This is kind of, it will search for this text wherever it is, and it will stop the G-code generation here. The multiply symbol means search anything anywhere inside the line. Okay, if you remove this line, it means it's a very first one. Okay, and don't look forward then. Okay, so this is what it means. And also don't forget, after you finish with the breakpoint, to hit enter at the end. Okay, so we are searching this, and please G-code stop in the time when he reached this place. What I'm going to do here in the debug console, I will clear the console. Okay, so we have nothing here, and I will go to the operations. I will go to the G-code, and I'll click G-code generate. I'll click OK. It is going, and here we go. Once he reached this place, it will pop up and he will stop it, And let's start with analyzation of the debug console. I will move all the way down. Let me just do like this. And what you can see that G-code actually start exactly where I want it to be. Of course, you can expect if you are having like many times this B minus 650 inside your G-code, it will stop as many times as you have it inside your post-processor. Okay. Now, what you can also see over here on the left side, he stopped in this line. Now, as experienced post-processor developer, you can fully ask why actually it stopped here. I don't see anything here. Now, the very important thing is that it will never stop in the same line where it is printed. But what we are actually doing, we are actually stopping it after that block. So the line before. So we first must print it out, and then we will analyze what is inside that line, and we will always stop it in the line after. Okay. So this is very important. As you can see here on the top, you can see that B linear axis, it's B, and we have a rapid to start, and its value it's minus 650. And I can see, okay, this is the piece of the code that maybe I have to edit, I can modify, and or I can affect to its value. I think this is very good feature. Okay, and the next function that I would like to show you, I will again turn off the breakpoint. Maybe I will also remove it. And this time I will just continue until the G-code is generated. All right. I will go back and I will maybe remove all expressions. And I will again search for this user-defined feed spin procedure. And I will do a right click over here and I will go to the definition. One very nice thing here for all of you, for the post-processor developers, is that you can move your mouse over any of the variable over here, and he will show you that is this a user variable or is this a system variable. As you can see, this is a system variable. Okay. Also, if you are declaring your variables in the way of like this, so let me try like global, and I will say it's integer. And I would say it's, I don't know, it's SolidCAM webinar. Okay, and then later on, I can say this is just for demonstration. Probably I misspelled it. This is not important at this moment. And later on, if I use anywhere this, you can, I will move my mouse over here. You can see the user variable. It is a user variable. It is a global integer. Okay, you can also select the text. This is very valuable, but also you have an info that this is just for demonstration. So it's very important that you see that if we realize that you have information text over here, it will also pop up a message, which is very important because you can later on you don't have to go on the top of your post processor and to check it out what is this post processor or what this particular variable do, but you can have a short information what it is. Okay, let me go back and I will remove this one. And what I want to do here is something with regarding to the, I want to stop the G-code over here and I will disconnect. And I want to stop it over here, okay? Let me go back to debug. And it's attached. And I will go to the operation and I will generate the G-code. All right, I'll click OK. The trace will be asked. I will click OK again. And actually it will stop over here. Now, for your information, you will see on your PCs it will work completely fine, but because I downgraded the Visual Studio Code for this webinar, over here you will be able to see the call stack. Let me go back to maybe to post-processor document, okay? And I will go over here and I will just jump to it. uh, and not the customizing, but call stack. Here it is. Okay, so this is the how the call stack should work. Basically, I'm located in the user-defined machine plane over here. It's a user-defined procedure over here. But what you can see here on the top of the screen is that you can analyze and get information, and you have complete overview from where this procedure is called. So user-defined machine plane is called from user-defined start of job and also from mfeed_spin. The parse over here, it's the GPP engine basically. So this is a very first, or let's say we call it parser. Okay, so it goes to the mfeed_spin, then it calls the start of job, and then this calls the machine plane. Unfortunately, I didn't expect that it will not work in this version, so really sorry for this. But I hope you got this point. Okay, I finished with today's webinar. I hope it was very valuable for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I just open it over here. I'll wait for a few moments. Okay. Okay, so most of the questions how the document will be reached. Okay, the document will be shared after the webinar together with the recordings. Okay, and also with the upcoming post-processor newsletter, it will be also shared there, so you can have full access to the PDFs, and that will actually happen tomorrow, and together with the videos. And I think I didn't forget anything. I hope you enjoyed all. If you have any questions, feel free to contact also SolidCAM support. For now, I wish you very, very nice day and the weekend. And thank you for attending. Bye.